You are listening to X-Wing Radio.
Welcome back, all you rebel scum. I'm David, that's Wesley, and you just tuned in to X-Wing Radio, your bi-weekly podcast from a galaxy far, far away.
That is right. We are back, and I misspoke about a month ago, 4 weeks ago. I thought we would be talking about Rebels every other week, like we have never done, but we are actually skipped a week in there. And the first of every month, we will be talking about Rebels, and then leading into Ahsoka as it's basically season 5 of Rebels. And then there's also a new series that they're shooting right now, a season of Ahsoka that they're shooting right now. But that's all beside the point. We'll get out to that when we get to that. But I misspoke. But that being said, we are talking about Rebels season 2 today. David, what were your thoughts on this season of Rebels?
Um, honestly, it starts off as a lot of the same that we get from season 1. However, the ending of this season might honestly be the strongest ending to a season. Well, I don't know, season 4 is also good, but this is probably one of the strongest endings to any of the animated Star Wars series. I would even put it above I would even put it above a lot of the Clone Wars season finales.
It is pretty good. It has a pretty good ending. But before you can reach the ending, you must start at the beginning. Same for the podcast. You got to listen all the way through before you can get to the ending. Uh, we have to start off with the first couple episodes. Now, we were talking about this beforehand, and it is something to note with this season that I would say the first like 4 episodes are pretty good, and then the last like 2 episodes with one episode 18 is a good episode, and then the last 2 episodes are probably the only really good episodes in this season. The rest are not necessarily filler, but aren't nearly as good as eh, this season was kind of hard. I'll put it to you this way. So when we first started watching it in season 1, I wouldn't say I was chomping at the bit to watch Rebels. Rebels has a lot of good moments in it, but that's kind of it. It kind of has good moments. Um, it is very much a kid show. It doesn't take itself nearly as seriously overall as Clone Wars does, and Clone Wars is still a kid show, but it doesn't take itself nearly as seriously as Clone Wars does in certain areas. It's not nearly as grim and stuff like that. But it was hard watching this season, with the exception of, like you mentioned, the last 2 episodes, and I thought that the start was pretty good. But to dive into that, the reason the start is so good is because of how season 1 ended. Do you remember how season 1 ended, David?
Are you talking about the Vader reveal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So the first 2 episodes and the last 2 episodes are both two-parters. So the first 2 episodes, uh, basically, it's kind of the season 1 finale kind of set it up, and basically this is the trap that Vader set up for uh the insurgents on Lothal,
Yeah.
specifically for Kanan and Ezra, because it was the Jedi that kind of piqued Vader's interest.
Um, David, I do want to show you something. Um, let me see if I can show you this because this is kind of funny to me. Um, they're not going to show me what I'm looking for. Vader's design is interesting to me. Um, not that it's necessarily bad, but there's a specific thing that I'm looking for, and I want to see if I can find it. Um, what do you think about seeing Vader in this season?
So I thought it was cool. The one thing about Vader in the show is the voice kind of is just like, I don't know, the voice is wrong. I I don't know what it is necessarily about the voice, but that is kind of like, yeah, it's like that's not Vader. But if you're talking about the
Kind of
design,
throws
I
you off
mean,
a
it's
little bit.
definitely like similar to the rest of um
I think very much in the Rebels design, it's
yes,
very
yes.
slimming. It's very slimming as compared to others.
Mm.
But the thing that I'm trying to find right here, and I would love to find a picture so I could have something to show, but is his lightsaber, the way it hangs on his belt. The emitter is facing up.
Hmm.
I noticed that and I was like, that's weird. But I don't know if I can find it anywhere because anything that has him with his lightsaber, it has it hanging um by the by or he has it holding it.
Here you go. I
But
just sent you
then
one.
he also okay. Um so yeah, you can see it right there. Um it's not exactly the easiest to see on the camera or whatever, but you can see here the emitter is hanging up. Now, I will say, if you take a look at the actual lightsaber's design, um, there is a hook that is on, like toy lightsabers, they usually have the clip where the blade would be hanging down, but on the design of the way it is, there's that little hook on the top. So I'm assuming that that's what they're going for, but I'm also pretty sure, and I could be wrong, uh, based off of based off of my lack of being able to see it right now. I don't think that that's how he has it in the rest of the trilogy. But if it is, that's fine, and that's a nice little detail that they added in. I just thought it looked funny, like him accidentally
Uh,
turning his lightsaber on. Maybe he brushed up
yeah,
against something and then he
I was
died. No.
I was about to say, like, you would think you would want the emitter facing down because I mean, okay, obviously you don't want it to like accidentally discharge or something, but like, I'd rather lose a leg than have my lightsaber impale my chest. Like,
Yeah, it's a very small little thing that I saw. And the thing too, you think about it. I mean, Anakin's lightsaber is stylized very similarly to how he builds his later on as Vader. It's pretty similar. It's not exact, but it's similar. And that little hook is on his as well, but it's not how he holds it when he's a Jedi. So it was just a very interesting little thing that I've never noticed with Vader before, but that does not mean that it's not how it is normally. Um, that all aside, it was very cool to see Vader in this. You mentioned the voice. I will say, later at the end of the series, when Vader does show up again, there's a moment where they do what they did in Kenobi, where they mix the Vader voice with Anakin's voice, and they use Matt Lanter to voice
Mm.
him, same one who voiced Anakin in the Clone Wars, which I think is a very nice touch. Um, being having him in it. Um, but I do understand. Who did they get to use the voice? They didn't use James Earl Jones. I mean, they use him in everything else. They didn't use any like recordings or anything.
I don't know. Like so the voice just sounded different. Um,
I mean, I understand. I do understand what you're saying because it does sound slightly different. Um, but uh, I'm just curious. In no, in Rebels, I'm curious to see who they use for that. Well, this says James Earl Jones is is the voice of Darth Vader in Star Wars Rebels.
yeah, I'm seeing that too.
Uh,
But I don't know if they use a different. I don't know if they did
and he
use
said
the.
he voiced him in 5 episodes of the show.
Okay, I don't know if they use a different. Like filtered the voice differently than they did in like the originals, and everywhere else we've
Maybe.
heard the voice. But like I said, it did sound different.
It sounds mostly right,
Maybe I'm
but
imagining things. I
I'm
don't.
maybe you are, but that's neither here. That's neither here nor there. But that's how the first 2 episodes start off. Vader is trying to get them, and a couple of things that I want to note with this season is how powerful Vader is.
Mm,
Like, for all intents and purposes, I know Vader had another plan, uh, but he could have killed Kanan and Ezra without even thinking about it. Like
mm,
multiple times, he could have killed them. Um, he almost killed Sabine.
mm.
If she wasn't wearing her Mandalorian armor, she would be dead. Um, and yeah, like the only reason they they survived their encounter with Vader was because he let them. And it's interesting though to see Vader in this show, and like obviously in the original trilogy there were some limits to how Vader was portrayed because it was clunky armor, and it was difficult to see and move and stuff like that, and also because Lucas had the idea that the swords were going to be handled like normal swords. They weren't being float around and stuff like that as much. Um, and it is interesting to see him as he fights in this, especially in like the last couple of episodes, when he's fighting. Last episode, I think it is when he shows up and fights, and you get to see him move around a little more swiftly, but not necessarily any less clunky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's very cool to see him. It's very interesting to see just where Ezra and Kanan are at. It's very similar to also seeing how it is in like something like the Fallen Order games, right? You come in contact with Vader, you are very, very much outmatched, you know. Which
I just think it's funny. Like, I mean, it's very true too. Like in those games, I remember especially like I remember Fallen Order at the end there. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't played it, but come on, y'all, it's like 7 years old, 8 years
it's
old.
old. I
It's an
say I
old game
think
at this point.
I think Survivor's already 4 years old or
Yeah,
something.
so Jedi
3 or
Fallen
4.
Order is already old. If you have if you're worried about spoilers, you should get over it. But at the end of the game, you Cal Kestis comes face to face with Vader, and
Yeah.
you have to escape. You have to run because if you try, you don't even land a hit, and Vader kills you.
Yeah, yeah. It's not even a fight.
Yeah,
It's Vader's playing with his food, and that's about it.
yeah.
But it is funny because, like, you know, if you think about it in the grand scheme of Star Wars, how powerful Vader is, and I understand that Luke was his son, and he wanted Luke to join him on the dark side, and then he was conflicted on how if he wanted to, kill his son or anything like that. But Luke legitimately doesn't have that much training. I would say someone like Kanan or Ezra might have more formal training. I also understand that Luke is a Skywalker. He has more force potential and stuff like that. But to be fair too, he also has very limited like dueling experience and all. And he's able to beat Vader. There's more to it. I understand anyone who comes across this video randomly and watches to this point and is like, yeah, but don't do that. Don't yeah, but me in the comments, okay? It doesn't matter. I'm just making a similarity thing. I understand there's more to it. We're not talking about that today. All we're talking about today is the fact that Vader is extremely powerful.
And
And
honestly, terrifying. Like,
yes,
Ezra and Kanan kind of have the same thing. Like, they try to fight a little bit, but then it's kind of the thing of like, oh no, we have to run
yeah, exactly.
because if you
And he
don't,
just he
yeah,
breaks right through their defenses.
yeah.
Um But I mean, that's basically like all that those first couple episodes are about is Vader trying to trap them. We do get a very similar scene. I did like to see Vader flying in his tie. Very reminiscent of Anakin, you know,
Mm,
with the way that he is flying. I mean, he's obviously an amazing pilot. Vader doesn't change as a pilot. He's still really good behind the wheel. Um, I mean, we even see a move or two where like a ship is following him and he like turns around to shoot back at them. And like that's not something most pilots can do, you know.
mm,
So Vader is a little bit more than that. We also get the first steps in these episodes of Ahsoka and Anakin um kind of reuniting. It's not necessarily that they're reuniting, but they sense each other and they kind of recognize what's going on.
mm.
Realizing that they're both still alive, and Ahsoka throughout this series is having to deal with what's happened to Vader or Anakin. Um, but that all happens. We also get a scene that's reminiscent of one of the scenes in I think it's Heir to the Empire. Um, with you'll understand where I'm going here in a second. With At the end, Vader gets caught in a tractor beam, and
Okay, yeah.
uh, yeah, and it was supposed to be meant for the Ghost Crew, but Vader ended up getting caught in it, and the commander of the ship is like, don't worry, Lieutenant or private or whatever he was, the guy who was manning the tractor beam. He's like, don't worry, it wasn't your fault. And then as he's walking off, he says, but Vader won't know that.
Hmm.
And I was like, yeah, someone's dying. Hands down, someone is dead after that incident. And same thing happened in Heir to the Empire, where Luke escaped a tractor beam, and they faulted the guy who was running the tractor beam, and Thrawn had him killed, basically. Uh, so, but anyways, very small little thing that I noticed that I was like, there's a parallel.
Yeah. I mean, that frankly might have been intentional because I mean, obviously, like as we kind of see later in the series, Filoni knows the Thrawn trilogy. Like,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
obviously just having that character in later on, spoilers again. But obviously just having that character in the show later on, he has to like know the source material.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and then obviously Dave Filoni, the Star Wars fan that he is, it would be surprising if he had never read those
he
books or
he,
done
he
that.
probably read them back in the 90s, honestly.
Yeah, when they first came out.
Yeah.
Um, Now moving on to what I would say is some better episodes in the series, but I wouldn't say that they're great episodes. More so the reason that I like these next two episodes, um, which I believe is another two-parter of sorts. It's not part one and part two, but they are connected episodes.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the distinction between that is more so they don't they don't end on a cliffhanger. They just end and then they pick up same characters, same spot, everything on the next episode.
Mm.
But the reason that the next two episodes are so interesting are because a very important character that we've talked about a lot on this channel shows back up for the first
Ahsoka.
time at this point in time would have been for about 15 years since
Yeah.
we had last seen him, maybe 14. Ahsoka, yes, no, idiot. It's another character that we know very well and Ahsoka knows very well. It is Captain Rex.
Hmm.
Not only do we get to meet Captain Rex, we also get to meet uh, Commander Gregor and Wolf,
Hmm. Now,
both of them.
okay, obviously this is a kind of a like it's great getting to see these characters again, and like I don't know necessarily that these episodes have a lot of like story significance. I mean, they have some
Yeah,
reintroducing characters. There's some there, but they're just fun episodes just
yeah.
because we see these characters again. But the probably the biggest, I guess, story ramification in these episodes is diving a little bit more the into Kanan's character because
Yeah, and the reason behind that is because they're clones,
yeah.
and the last time Kanan was in contact with clones, his master was killed, and he had to run for his life. So he has no trust whatsoever for him. It's interesting because he kind of laughs it off when they go off on this mission to find this guy that Ahsoka knows, and she tells him, she says, trust him, trust me, trust him. And you might not want to, but just trust me on this that you should trust him. And he's like, okay, like, all right. Then he meets them, finds out they're clones, and is like, oh, yeah, I don't trust them,
Mm,
which there's a little bit of a good thing in the fact that he maybe doesn't trust them because part of the first episode is that Commander Wolf does actually betray them to the Empire, but then they kind of make up for it in fighting for the rebels and then also uh, helping them out, with things. Um, Now, when this came out, season 7 of the Clone Wars had not come out.
neither had the Bad Batch.
So, neither had the Bad Batch. So, we didn't know what happened to Rex
Hmm.
because obviously, from the Clone Wars to Revenge of the Sith, Rex was not in Revenge of the Sith. So we were like, what happened to him? Did he die? Maybe he did. We don't know. Well, then we see this and we're like, oh, so he is still alive. Oh, he says it himself. He never betrayed his Jedi. Now, granted, he couldn't really have betrayed him because Anakin turned into Vader, which, obviously he would have still been with him. But that's beside the point. He never betrayed the Jedi. Um, Now Wolf did because Plo Koon died. Um, and I don't know if we actually see Wolf as a part of that, but anyways, that's beside the point. Um, and then Gregor, I don't think Gregor actually technically had a Jedi. He's Commando. We also don't see Gregor after that one Clone Wars arc, do we?
Not that I can remember.
Which means that basically Gregor, we have no idea how he ends up here.
Hmm.
So that's kind of an interesting thing too. Um, but uh, but yeah, there's a lot of things with this that there's still a lot unknown. Obviously, now we know that Ahsoka and Rex escaped, and and what happens with Rex. Now we don't know how Rex gets here. We don't know how he goes from being a rebel informant to getting here, but there's obviously a transition somewhere in there.
Mm.
Um,
I honestly thought we were going to see more of this in Bad Batch, but
yeah.
because the way Bad Batch started, it almost kind of seemed like it was going to be more of a bridge um between Clone Wars and Rebels, because obviously, we just mentioned, Kanan the last time he saw clones was when who was his master?
It's a dip of Bulava.
Yeah, Depa Billaba. When Depa Billaba got killed, and then he had to run for his life, and we see that whole sequence in the first episode of Bad Batch.
Yeah.
I honestly thought it was going to be more of a, especially as Rex became kind of a reoccurring character. I thought we were going to get to see
Hmm.
more of him, and in season 3 of Bad Batch, the last season of Bad Batch, um, which I think was season 3, we got to see Wolf
Yeah.
some too, and I thought they were going to establish kind of that whole arc there, but
I do wonder with that if they're more so looking to make another spin-off series that will
possibly.
follow Wolf and Rex in their time between these and maybe even set them up, even if it doesn't bridge the gap completely, maybe it bridges to where then now they've met up with Gregor. Oh, now they're maybe kind of pulling out of the fight, where they're not a part of
See,
it as
uh,
much.
I'm getting off topic here, and I apologize, but I think it would be cool if they did a show kind of, again after Bad Batch to bridge, like complete that bridge into going into Rebels, and maybe just do like 1 or 2 seasons, but do a
Hmm.
fulcrum show.
Yeah,
So
I'd be
have
cool with that.
Rex, but basically have Rex, Ahsoka, and Saw Gerrera. Those are I think the three people who we know have used that code name. Um, maybe not even Saw, but just Rex and Ahsoka, because we know that they've
Yeah,
both used that code name. So kind of have like a fulcrum show, basically kind of establishing how they got kind of pulled into working or into the beginnings of the rebellion.
yeah. And that would definitely be great. And I mean, hey, you're looking at the brainchild of Dame Filoni over there. He loves Ahsoka
Hmm.
and the character and all that stuff. So there's more Ahsoka for you. Um, now we've been talking for a little bit here. Um, and there are more episodes. I think. Let's see. Briefly going through some of these. Let's see. We meet the new Inquisitors that are going to be hunting down the two Jedi, and it's the seventh sister and the fifth brother.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Seventh sister, funny oddly enough, is played or voiced by Freddie Prinze Jr., the voice actor for Kanan, his wife.
Interesting.
Um, which is an interesting thing. Um, Basically that episode really just introduces them. Uh, the episode after that, episode 6, we get to see Hondo. Hondo is still alive, and
Everyone's favorite pirate, Hondo Ohnaka.
well, he's still alive. Uh, but
So,
yeah, uh, go ahead.
also again, this is just kind of a side tangent, but I love the fact that what is his name? Um, Hondo is voiced by the same actor who voices Winnie the Pooh.
Oh yeah. That's funny.
Jim Cummings.
Mm.
Like I don't know. I just think that's funny. And now every time I hear like you know like I don't know. I just think it's funny that the same actor who voices Winnie the Pooh and Tigger voices Hondo Onaka.
It's a very interesting jump
Yeah,
in character.
yeah.
Um, Now I will say there's some things I could say, and I will say about a different character coming up here. But the character design is interesting. I guess it does fit Rebels, but I definitely prefer the way he looks in Clone Wars to this. Um, but it's a very minor thing. He's still Hondo. It's very funny. It's funny too. We see him in this episode, and I think we see him like 2 or 3 episodes down the line, and both times he's holding basically a bag of credits for half the episode, and it's like, yep, that basically sums up Hondo. You know, gotta have the money and gotta have it close.
Mm. And honestly, again, kind of on a side tangent, I was a little bit disappointed because we know Hondo is still alive at this point, and presumably he lives on after this. I was a little disappointed in Skeleton Crew that we didn't see Hondo.
Mm. I thought that would have been a great cameo to have, even just on that pirate planet that they went to, just to have a brief
Because
run-in with
like,
Hondo.
okay, I'm glad Skeleton Crew was. And again, we've already talked about this. So we don't need to get too far into this again. But I'm glad it was like self-contained and didn't really like get off into all this other stuff. But it still would have been cool to see like a character like Hondo. Like we don't need to see like Lando Calrissian or like any of the main characters from Star Wars in this show. But like seeing like a side character like Hondo, I think would have been cool. Anyway, getting back to Rebels. Um, there's I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but uh, one episode that I really like is actually one that has Rex back in it. Is episode 9, Stealth Strike. Uh,
Hmm.
but I just think it's funny because in this episode we have this whole sequence where um, they infiltrate a what is it?
Ezra and their commander guy get captured, and they have to break them out.
Yeah, and but I just think it's funny because this is actually kind of again where Kanan kind of starts to break down some of that mistrust of the clones because he has
Hmm.
to work with Rex. Like he has no
Yeah,
other option. He doesn't want to. He has no other option though. Um,
yeah.
and so I think this is kind of important. I think pretty much by the end of this episode, he's got. I don't know if he trusts Rex completely, but he's got like he doesn't like mistrust Rex really anymore.
I think by the end of this episode, they kind of make it seem like he pretty much like that part of his character arc is over. So I'm
Mm,
pretty sure like he trusts Rex, at that point. I mean, obviously he goes back for Rex and risks his life for Rex.
yeah,
And isn't willing to leave him behind and all. And it is definitely it's a good character arc episode. It's not
yeah,
even a bad episode all in all. It is funny because the they what ends up happening, and I think there is an important aspect to this episode that may not really come up a ton, but it might. And so we go ahead and mention it. But they're working on a prototype gravity well in this, and that's what sucks the ship that Ezra and the commander guy are on. Um, it sucks them out of hyperspace. Uh, and so everyone ends up blowing up the ship. But it's funny because the what's the guy's name? The uh the lieutenant, um the ISB agent guy or whatever. I guess he's not
Oh,
ISB, but
Callus.
Agent Callus. He tells the guy, he says, "Don't underestimate the kid, and make sure you got him locked down really well." And at the end of the episode, the ship is all exploded. The commander guy is in a escape pod, and he goes, "So, h- how did it go with the kid?" And it's like, obviously not well, because your ship is gone. You completely underestimated this kid because you thought, oh, he's just a kid. Um, Shows the destructive nature of someone like Ezra.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I also heard that apparently this is the episode that most people cite when it comes to Chopper's war crimes. Um, which here's the thing. I don't know if you can necessarily call that a war crime. He helped blow up a ship or multiple ships. You can say, "Oh, it's unnecessarily taking life," but so is the Death Star. And you can't really be like, "Oh, well, the Death Star is about to blow up Yavin 4," because think of the destruction that could come from a ship like this, right? A ship that can pull ships out of hyperspace. Like, that's another weapon you don't want them to have. Also, the second Death Star, per many, many, many different things, but I don't remember what the movie or show is, but there's one that talks about it, and I think really started getting the theory going, where the second Death Star not only had Imperial officers on it, but also had people who were probably like general contractors and just builders on it, general workers. That one, that was probably a war crime, blowing that one up. Let's be honest here. Now the side that blew it up won, so no one's gonna press charges. But let's be honest, that one was worse than what Chopper just did,
Mm-hmm.
in my
Um,
opinion.
Also, another thing about the interdictor cruiser is that is yet another thing that originated from the Thrawn trilogy.
Hmm. Yeah, I was about to say that is something that
Yeah,
definitely I remember talking about in the thing. I think they set up somewhere with the plans of ripping Luke out of hyperspace because they
yeah.
think they know where he's going with it. So yeah, that's another thing that they mentioned in the Thrawn trilogy. Which again shows that is a more direct parallel than the other one was.
Yeah. Um,
Which honestly is interesting because this is season 2. Coming up is when we actually meet Thrawn. This probably are hints at what's to come that most people probably wouldn't pay attention to. Very
mhm,
subtle hints that aren't necessarily pointing to it, but probably are.
could be, yeah. Um, Also in this episode too, I just love the fact that when Kanan and Rex uh actually, land on the ship to, rescue Ezra and the commander guy,
Mhm.
they're dressed as stormtroopers. And then, they get in the blaster fight and Rex is like, I can't see a thing.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, you can't aim, old man," and he's like, "I can't see anything." As soon as he takes the helmet off, though, he like headshots a guy or something.
But I just love the fact that like Star Wars has become self-aware about the fact of the original trilogy, like Star or stormtroopers couldn't hit anything,
Yeah.
and like it is canon now that the reason stormtroopers have bad aim is because their armor sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quantity over quality to the highest degree.
Yeah,
I forget what it is. I think it's in the first episode with the clones when the Empire is coming down, and Rex is talking to him, and he's like, "Oh, you have to you're gonna have to send your whole entire army to beat us, with how bad your new stormtroopers are." And Agent Callus is like, he was like, "Oh, trust me, I have plenty to send because they suck." You know, it's like quantity over quality. That's what
Mm-hmm.
stormtroopers are there for.
And that's it's also like kind of the tactic of the Empire. It's the intimidation thing of like, okay,
Hmm.
if you have thousands of soldiers dressed completely identically, it's like, okay, that's kind of intimidating. Even if they suck, there's a there's thousands of them. Actually, probably millions of
Yeah.
them across the galaxy.
Which is interesting in the couple episodes that we see of Ezra as a cadet and the type of training that they send them through. You think about it, you're like, huh, they have all this training, yet they still suck when they get out. Also, and I understand they're limited by the original trilogy, but the helmet that Ezra wears as a cadet is a lot better than the helmets that the stormtroopers wear, design wise. Maybe not much, but slightly better. I would think. Um, but anyways, moving on. To next episode. Okay, so we have a callback episode. In the future of the Force, where basically the Inquisitors are trying to kidnap Force sensitive babies. Callback episode because back in season 2 of the Clone Wars, I believe it was the first episode or two, Jango Fett, uh, what's his name? Cad Bane was tasked with stealing a holocron from the Jedi Temple that possessed names for Force sensitive children on it. And then also, I think it happens in Bad Batch, where he's actually stealing some Force sensitive kids for
Mhm.
experimentation.
Um,
Um, but it's something we've seen before, essentially.
mm. You also have to wonder if that's like I just now that you say that connected the dots with Fallen Order.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same. I don't think that's supposed to be the same holocron, but it's interesting that it's also another holocron that's got the names of Force sensitive children.
Yeah, I would be interested to see that, like what that is, because the one that we have in Fallen Order is from a temple that has supposedly been there for a while,
Hmm.
whereas the one that we see in the Clone Wars is obviously in the
Or
Jedi archives.
or it's possibly like okay, you know how we saw like Obi-Wan's message on the holocron both in Fallen Order and in Rebels.
Hmm.
So it could be like that. It could be like, two different holocrons that have the same list.
That's fair. The only issue that I would come up with that is
Well, the Empire would probably already have it if it was the Jedi Temple. So,
yeah, well that would be an issue, but also if it was supposed to be somewhat of an older, it's been a while since I played Fallen Order, but if the holocron was supposed to have been there for a little while, then I would be a little confused on how the information got on it, you know.
mm,
But who knows? Maybe there's a lot to that I think is unknown with it. It's supposed to be a story-led video game, sure, but there's certain aspects to it that are not going to be fleshed out.
mm,
So,
yeah.
um,
So we've been talking for a little bit here, or a while here. So let's skip a little bit. There's a couple that I do want to hit on, like important, just kind of important moments. Um, but
Ezra comes to terms with his parents'
yeah.
death.
So
Princess Leia is introduced.
yeah, so we have a cameo of Princess Leia. Um,
I will say with the Princess Leia episode, it is interesting, and how they kind of break down. Leia is still a part and wants to help out with the rebellion, but she's still part of the Senate, and her and Bale have to still keep up appearances and make things look like they're not part of the rebels in the
mhm,
rebellion.
yeah. Um, yeah, that is interesting. Let's see. episode 13, we get some callbacks to Clone Wars and stuff, just with them going back to Concord Dawn and stuff. Because we get some of the more Mandalorian related stuff.
Yeah.
Episode 15, I think, is important one to touch on. Is the this first time? This is the first time we see the Purrgil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So besides that, not a whole lot other to the episode, but the Purgle is definitely a part of this episode that is important to touch on because we start to see them, we start to get introduced to their characters. And I think I don't remember which episode it is, but Ezra in this season is really starting to you start to see him connect with other animals a lot more.
Mm.
You
Which is
know,
also
that's
a
supposed to be
very
one of his.
that's something very interesting that Rebels explores that not really anything else like show or movie wise in Star Wars has explored to that extent. It's just the natural aspect of the Force, how like everything, every living thing is attuned to the Force. And
Yeah,
there's even like we see with like the Purrgil, or I mean even like the Loth cats and Loth wolves, like that we see later on, have some amount of like Force, not sensitivity, but are tuned to the Force in some way.
yeah. Um, yeah. I had a comment, but I'll make it later because it will come up later.
Mm. Um,
Uh,
episode
we get
16,
us meet. We get to meet Hera's dad.
which will become important later on because it's season 3 and 4, because of all the Ryloth arc and everything.
Hmm.
Um, but uh, we also saw him in Clone Wars, correct?
I believe so.
I believe he was in the Ryloth arc in Clone Wars.
I think so, but let's check it. Um, what was his name?
Uh, Sham Syndulla.
Yes, I believe so. I think that's him right here. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, we do
Did they
see.
mention his?
You know,
Do we see his full name in it? Like, would that be a reason why we would be like, oh, Harrison Dula connection?
I don't know if they mention it in the show or if that was just kind of retconned back, and I'm not sure.
Yeah. But yes, he is a part of at least an episode or two there. Again, not a ton that's important with that. Um, kind of same for the next one. Uh, they go back to well, they start to touch on the building of the Death Star, which took place on or not on Geonosis, but in Geonosis orbit for a time, and then you know Palpatine decided to wipe out the Geonosians. Long story short, basically Zeb and Agent Callus have a episode together, and they kind of mutually respect each other after that. That's about it.
Mhm.
Not
Which
much to it.
that is semi-important because that kind of starts Callus's whole redemption arc.
Yeah.
So that is important. But we don't really see the manifestation of that until season 3.
Yeah. What is important for this season is the next episode, Shroud of Darkness, where Ezra, Kanan, and Ahsoka go back to that temple on Lothal.
Mm.
Reason they go there is because they want to see about meeting with Master Yoda. Reason they want to find Master Yoda is because they have no idea how to beat the Inquisitors. The Inquisitors are too much or too powerful or anything along those lines, and they need Yoda's help to figure out how to beat them. Um, so that's what happens in this episode. Um, I think an interesting part is we kinda, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to be this or not, but we kinda skip the start of seeing the world between worlds.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, we don't actually see it really until like season 4, but Filoni is definitely like exploring a lot more of the abstracts in the Force in this show too. Again,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of ties into all the like what I was talking about with the nature, like the more natural aspects of the Force, like with all the
Mm-hmm.
animals and stuff. But all of these episodes, like we had the episode last season where they went into the Jedi Temple. This season where they go into the Jedi Temple. Next season we see all the stuff with the Bendu and everything. So Filoni's definitely trying to explore a lot more of the um lore around the Force itself.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but it's interesting to see that interesting to get to hear Yoda in this a little bit and him talk about a lot of it. He even talks to Ezra a little bit about the Clone Wars and the start of them. Excuse me, and uh, and kind of how basically just how corrupt the Jedi Order had got, you know.
Mm.
And kind of even taking some accountability in that and being like, I myself was blind to it, we were shrouded in so much darkness and I just didn't foresee any of this, you know. Um, but he gives them advice. He also tells them to go to Moraban, right?
Uh, that sounds right. I literally just watched this episode earlier today. Those episodes earlier. But hang on, Malachor.
Malachor, I knew it was one of those. Well, actually, I was gonna either say Moraban, which it's Korriban, but I think is it Moraban was another name for it, or am I just completely combining names?
You're combining Malachor and Korriban.
Well, I was also thinking of calling it Malachi, and I knew that was wrong. So, um,
Right.
but anyways, I also thought it was interesting. At the very end of the episode, as they're escaping the temple, um, uh, that Ahsoka looks back and sees Yoda. And Yoda waves, and she nods, and then runs off. When was the last time Ahsoka saw Yoda?
That would have been when she rejected the Council's offer to reestablish her as a Jedi Knight.
Mm-hmm. I just think that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That and I think it's definitely aha! I am right. Korriban, also known as Moraban,
Hmm.
has two names. Anyways, um, but I found that interesting. That she's moved on, and I think Yoda even knows that. I mean, obviously they kind of come to those terms in that episode, in that arc, but he knows that they made a mistake, and
Well,
and all.
the
But
interesting
it's
thing
kind
about
of the
those
thing of
episodes,
like,
the interesting thing about those episodes too is like Obi-Wan might have been the only one that actually voted against it, but Yoda, I feel like still didn't like it.
Yeah. But I think it was kind of a nod of, bygones are bygones.
Yeah,
Things are different now. The past is the past.
yeah.
Um, Now, I didn't think about it until just now when I started mentioning Ahsoka in this episode. Early on in this episode, Ezra goes into Ahsoka's room, or it might have been Kanan's room, and she was just meditating in there. But she is playing a holocron of her master, Skywalker, not Master Skywalker, but never achieved that. But anyways, it was him, and he was basically discussing some techniques that he changed in Form 4. Now, you're glitching out a little bit, and I'm not sure how much you're actually picking up of this. I think we're having some technical difficulties. My camera's not working. David's cutting out. We just can't ever have a a good recording session where
Nope.
everything works.
I was just waiting for you to finish.
Uh,
I was just cutting in and out for you. I was just waiting for you to finish. But
okay. Well, anyways, um, but yeah. So she comes in and he's working on Form 4, and his design.
mm-hmm.
He has a very interesting design in this. David, playing video games sometimes, like I think this sometimes with like different superhero video games where they have like an alternate appearance for a character, or like they might call it the ultimate uh version or something like that. And you know how sometimes you might look at them and you stop and you think, you're like, hmm, this doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at all. Who designed this character this way? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like Spider-Man's wearing a Batman costume. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Um, this design didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. And the reason it didn't make a whole lot of sense wasn't because its outfit itself didn't fit the era, or didn't have like symbols on it that might be pertaining to the time frame in which it was in. It was more so it didn't make sense for Anakin, because we've seen most of Anakin's life, um, especially during the Clone Wars. Uh, he never wore an outfit like that ever. Um, Let me pull this up real quick so I can actually
I'm
get
looking
an
at it
idea.
right here.
Yeah, the emblem on the shirt. What is all I have to ask? What were they thinking? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? He's wearing a shirt that has the
Jedi Order symbol on it.
Jedi Order symbol on it. Why? Like, that's not an outfit that he wore at any point in time. It's a little weird. Like, I don't know. It throws me off a little bit seeing that. I think my biggest gripe mostly with Rebels is when it comes to character designs from characters that we see in other animated series. Like, okay, the animation from Bad Batch to Rebels is different, or Bad Batch to Clone Wars is different, but it's not tremendously different to where all the characters look completely different, right? I think it's more so of a thing of they kind of updated a little bit. Or Bad Clone Wars was made, and then they upgraded their technology and got better, and it's a little more refined, but still looks slightly different. Um, but even to that point, like I think
But
the Tales series have been different too, but I don't hate the design of those
but
characters.
I was about to say
Rebels,
there's more. Honestly, I think there's more of a difference between Season 7 of the Clone Wars and Season 1 of the Clone Wars, then Season 7 of the Clone Wars and Bad Batch.
Well, yeah, yeah. But even like Tails has a different animation, I would say, and Rebels is just so much different. Rebels is a
Hmm.
lot different than any of the other
Yeah.
ones, and I just don't really care for this design. Um, it's a very small gripe. It's a very small scene. They show him later on when Ahsoka's in the temple and she says or he says, why did you leave me? Like this is your fault, which is not her fault, but she's dealing with that right now. Um, but small little gripe that I wanted to touch on with this. I do also want to touch on this. The Grand Inquisitor was a temple guard.
Hmm.
We see him as a temple guard in this episode.
Hmm.
Do you think that was just the Force manifesting him? Literally just thought, just thoughts. I'm not trying to make an argument one way or the other. I'm just curious.
I mean,
Not
that's the
manifesting him, but was it just the Force or was it actually him?
the impression I get when watching the show is that it's the Force, just the Force. But
Hmm.
I mean, there are implications from what we know from the comics that it could be actually the Grand Inquisitor.
The only issue I would have with it being actually him is, like you mentioned, comics, the Vader comic or whatever it, I don't know what the actual comic series is, but the comic where the Inquisitor and Luke fight is that the reason that Vader tethered his soul was punishment, but for all intents and purposes, he was dead, and Vader just like basically was like, actually no, I'm gonna tether your soul to this place, and you have to, do this for me. So I was just curious thoughts on it. I'm also not entirely sure what happened to the Inquisitors at the end when all the Temple guards basically ran them through. I'm not sure what the implication was for that, you know, because they're obviously fine after that. Um, but it was an interesting scene. Um, now, David, moving on to what is actually our favorite episodes, um, 19 and 20, uh, where basically we uh we we basically get to see what the whole series has been leading up to. Series of seasons, sorry, has been leading up to. We get our R2D2 and C3PO episode, but actually slightly better because C3PO is actually not in it, and he's very annoying. And because of that episode, we get to finally have a base for the rebels, which is the whole point of the season.
Hmm.
So that's it.
Yep.
20
And
episodes.
I know this kind of more sets up stuff in season 3, but um, yeah, they get a actual base for the rebels. But picking up kind of where 18 kind of led off, or led into is 21 and 22.
Wait, you mean
And
there's not
this
just 20 episodes? I only
surprisingly
watched
not.
20 episodes, David. I only watched 20. There's two more?
Yeah,
I missed two?
yeah.
What?
But these two
Well, I might have to
episodes
go watch those. Are they any good?
these two episodes are the best.
You see how he ignores me and just goes on talking. It's something that most people have to do.
Yeah,
Sarah
obviously.
does it too. Yeah.
Mhm. But these two episodes are frankly the best episode of the season. This is actually when uh we
Spoilers. We finally get to meet the eighth brother.
yeah for like 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, he's the eighth brother for a reason.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is when Ahsoka, Kanan, and Ezra actually go to Malachor to seek the knowledge that Yoda told them about. Yoda told them
Mm-hmm.
to find what they seek on Malachor.
Yeah. What do you think Yoda was talking about?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Do you think he was talking about the holocron, or do you think he was talking about Old Master?
That's a
You know,
good
sometimes it's
question.
hard to tell when you're frozen on your screen because you usually hold so still. Sometimes it's like if you go for like maybe a good minute or two without blinking, I
Hmm.
can usually tell. But sometimes, you might just hold the same face for an extended period of time.
Hmm. But anyway, yeah. So basically, as soon as um the Jedi get to this planet, they realize, oh, there was this big battlefield, basically, and it was right in front of a Sith temple,
Hmm.
and it was a battle between the Jedi and the Sith, like an ancient battle between the Jedi and the Sith. And then they get ambushed by an Inquisitor, like you mentioned, the eighth brother. But okay, well, so I have a question though. How did the eighth brother know that they were there?
Oh, he didn't. It was just a bonus.
Oh, well then why was the eighth brother there if he didn't know they were there?
Well, he was doing some hunting.
But they're supposed to hunt Jedi, so if he wasn't hunting the Jedi, who was he hunting?
Well, not necessarily a Jedi, but a Force user of sorts.
Right. So
They call him the Shadow.
that's not ominous at all. Um, so Ezra, being Ezra, gets separated from Ahsoka and Kanan, and actually ends up meeting this shadow.
Uh-oh. Does it end up being bad?
Well, this shadow man identifies himself as Old Master.
And I'm Jabba the Hutt. So what? It is interesting, and I actually think this the same with later or earlier with Hondo. But Maul's met Jabba the Hutt
Hmm.
or Jabba, you know. So he kind of knows that that's probably not his name. Uh I wondered the same for later on earlier with Hondo when Ezra gives the name Jabba the Hutt if he's like, "Okay, I know who Jabba the Hutt is, but oh, he gives Lando Calrissian. That's the name that he gives. But I feel like Lando probably has already brushed shoulders with Hondo, so he probably
Yeah,
knows.
yeah.
So
You know Hondo and Lando had to have met at some point. Like,
yeah, I mean, scum like that just have to mingle. But anyways, but yeah, the fact that I had it wrong, but the fact that he says Jabba is his name, and you could see a slight second of contemplation, and
okay,
Maul is
but
definitely thinking.
we know Maul has met Jabba
That's what I'm
when
saying. Yeah.
When Maul was taking like in season 5, the Clone Wars, when Maul was taking over the
Mhm.
crime syndicates. We know he met Jabba,
Yeah.
so like,
Yeah. Yeah. So you can see that contemplation of, oh, so he's not telling me his true name. So, obviously he wasn't either. Not that it would matter to someone like Ezra. If he told him he was Maul, because he does later, it means nothing to him, you know.
Mm.
Uh but yeah, so that what happens there. Now, outside of that, um Maul does try to gain Ezra's trust because he wants an apprentice. Um and his goal is to make Kanan or make Ezra his apprentice. Um they go in, they steal the holocron, and then they meet Kanan and Ahsoka fighting the Inquisitors. Now, Ahsoka immediately recognizes them because obviously she knows who Maul is. Kanan doesn't, but Kanan also doesn't trust him because Kanan doesn't trust many people. So, you
Fair.
know. Um, but at the same time, Ahsoka's the first one that goes along with Maul. Like he says, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so he's like, oh, we should all be on the same side. We all want the same thing. And Ahsoka's like, okay, I'll go along with this. Like, I'm not gonna like take my eyes off you necessarily, but we can pretend we're friends for right now. And it takes Kanan a little bit longer to actually trust him for the brief amount of time that they actually are all on the same side.
Mm. Yeah.
I also
Which
find it
also,
interesting too.
I think we get to.
Someone
I
of
mean,
Maul's skill fighting the
like
Inquisitors
you get to see just
is
how.
pretty crazy. Like Maul Maul could have easily
I'm gonna say you get
taken
to see
out
just
all
how
three of
like.
the Inquisitors without the help of Ahsoka and without the help of Kanan or Ezra. Um, Probably fairly
Sorry, what were we
easily.
saying?
You know, he's obviously no match for Vader. Um, he's older at this point in time. He even still lost the fight to Ahsoka in Clone Wars, and obviously Ahsoka's still no match for Vader. But it is interesting to see just how far down the Inquisitors are, and like you start to see in this, like, okay, Ezra is at a certain level, Kanan is at a certain level, Ahsoka, we got to see her fight the Inquisitors earlier, and I mean the Inquisitors were no match for her. She ran away because she didn't see a need to fight. Also, they had reinforcements, but like she pulled out her I'm gonna cut your lightsaber off and it's gonna be in your hand move. Like I'm gonna put my lightsabers away, catch yours and cut it off. uh she pulled out that move that she's done like I think 3 times, including this time. So she's obviously a tier up, and then you got Maul, and he's about on the same tier as Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka might be a little bit more force
Well,
attuned, and Maul might be a little bit better of a of
the
a
the
uh,
the
a duelist.
the thing with Maul though is Maul is a lot more like Ahsoka. Even fighting the Inquisitors is her first instinct is not, oh, I'm gonna kill them. Maul's first
Yeah,
instinct is, oh, I'm going to cut them into like 1,000 little pieces. Like,
yeah. You see that with him taking out the seventh sister.
yeah.
He wants her dead, and I mean, in all reality, at that point in time, Ezra probably shouldn't have hesitated. But it's interesting to see the tiers in this. Ezra, Kanan, Ahsoka, Maul. I'm not necessarily putting Maul over Ahsoka. I'm just listing them off. And then you have the tier all to itself, Vader, who we get to see here in a little bit, and just how much higher he is than all of them. Like the speed at which you see the fights between Kanan and the Inquisitors, and then you see the speed at which the fights between Maul and the Inquisitors, it's totally different. And then just how much different it is between those Inquisitors and Maul's fight to like Ahsoka and Vader's fight here in a little bit. Um, I do find it interesting. So like one of the first things that they teach you as a Jedi is to be able to create a force bubble around you, which essentially can block out other opponents' force attacking you. Now, the only thing about that is if someone's more powerful than you, they can go through your bubble fairly easy. So we see that sometimes with Ezra, where the Inquisitors go through the Force bubble, assuming that he actually knows how to do that. We never see Kanan go over that with him, but we would assume that that's something that he can do. But they very easily go through his Force bubble. Maul does the same thing with the Inquisitors. Obviously, like he's fighting with the Seventh Sister, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I'm tired of this. All right, Ezra, I want you to kill her." So he picks her up, Force chokes her, and it's like, "All right, cut her down." And then Ezra ends up not doing it because I guess I don't know. That's not the way Kanan trained him, and then Maul obviously kills her, which they don't show it, so we don't know how gruesome it was, but it was definitely supposed to be an off-screen kill. That's part of why this is such a kid show because of how much off-screen stuff that they cut, you know. Um, Same for pretty much the other two Inquisitor deaths. Um, but moving on, something very, very bad happens, and Maul betrays them, and Kanan never sees it coming. He also never sees it.
Oh my gosh, that. Well, no, technically he does see again, but
Okay, fair enough. We're not there yet.
but um, yeah. So Kanan ends up getting blinded by Maul, which also that sounds like a horrible way of getting blinded, like getting like slashed across your
Yeah.
eyes by a lightsaber.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works, right? Like, does he lose all sense of smell too?
Also, like it has to be like just the very point because like any more than that, and you would have been like you know getting a lobotomy
Dead.
too. Like,
Yeah. Um, Now, it is interesting because originally, from what I've looked into, uh, originally this was how Kanan was supposed to be. He was supposed to be a blind Jedi. Similar to what's his name? Why can't? Oh, yeah. Similar to a character in Legends Star Wars that we see around the same time, which I'm not sure if Kanan is supposed to be a spin-off of this character from Legends. Obviously, he's not the character. Um, but they're also based off of some old ancient samurai myth, whatever. But Ram Koda
mm,
from the Force Unleashed games is supposed to be uh is another blind Jedi. Um, Kanan is inspired somewhat by that type of character. Um, and and you know, despite the fact that they didn't start the series off with Kanan being blind, they do end up doing that here at this point in time in the series. And it's a very interesting way of going blind, like you mentioned. I'm not sure if that was Maul's intent because it seems like it would have had to have been. um, but it's also very interesting how quickly Kanan picks up on being able to use the Force to sense his surroundings, right?
mm.
Because not more than a couple seconds after Ahsoka leaves, and and is like, "Yeah, you have to face him now," fully aware that Kanan can take care of it. you know, like she wasn't. My light just cut off. Oh, and it's back. Okay. Anyways, uh, fully aware that that Kanan could take care of himself, and he does. Kind of. Kanan has some plot armor here, I feel like.
I mean,
With how quickly
yeah.
he throws Maul off of the cliff, there's some plot armor.
Hmm. Yeah, but I mean
It's a
that's
cool
really
scene. It's a cool scene, but it's also like that was Maul.
yeah.
That was Maul.
And then I feel like the other two big things from these two episodes are one, the holocron that Ezra ends up actually with.
Yeah.
Um, well, okay, I guess kind of in relation to that, Maul wants, I think you already mentioned this, but Maul wants Ezra to be his apprentice. And so, that kind of sets up Ezra for season 3. Um,
Mm.
but another big thing here too is Vader showing up. Also,
Yeah.
can
And
can can we just talk about like can we just talk about the amount of aura farming Vader does with it? Because like, okay,
David,
he
no. Don't be trying to use that slang on me. I don't understand what aura and skibbity riz and all that
okay, but
stuff means.
just the sheer
We're too
amount of,
old for that. We're too old for slang.
but just the sheer amount. Okay, you have to appreciate the fact that Vader gets to Malachor, gets out of his TIE fighter, stands on top of it, then uses the Force to pilot it down to the temple.
Just for that amazing shot. Yeah, no, it's definitely a like legitimately, if I was there, I would be like scared out of my mind. But then I would stop for a second and be like, this don't make this don't make much sense. Like, do you want me to video this?
But it's also like the same thing in like Rogue One of how like Vader intentionally holds his breath until he gets into the hallway and then starts breathing and then ignites his lightsaber. Like
You're not supposed to think about the in world. Not supposed to think about that.
like
He no,
Vader
he has a silencer. He has a silencer on his chest plate. Yeah.
but Vader does things just for the intimidation factor.
David, I'm never gonna get over the fact that you said oral farming. What does that even mean? I'm surprised that you keep up with more slang than I do. You're
Okay,
gonna have to
get
teach me when in like 10 or so years when Ellie starts using it.
okay, get with the program, man. I mean, like, come on, it's like you don't even have any skibbity riz.
I have no skibbity riz. I wanna make a short of us saying skibbity riz just to see who comes across it and says, "What are you saying?" Because in all honesty, what are you saying?
Okay, I'll be
You
honest.
just
I don't even.
you just went into your bedroom. You went into your bedroom. You started making noises with your mouth and said, "Hey, let me make this a trendy word. What is
I,
skibbity?
I, I'll
What
be
is
honest. I
Riz? What
don't.
is skibbity?"
Well, okay, Riz is short for charisma,
Yeah, it makes no sense. Still,
but
I don't
I
care.
have
It
no
makes
idea
no.
what skibbity means. Honestly, I have no
So
idea.
that's not something that you tacked on to Riz. Is skibbity actually supposed to be a thing?
Yeah.
I saw a video, completely off topic. I saw a video the other day, and it was a dad and his daughter. His daughter was probably in the range of like early teens or whatever. And he would say a word that you and I would understand, English, and then she would say whatever the counterpart was in what Gen Z,
Gen Alpha.
whatever the what is it Alpha? Gen Alpha, in their slang. And I was sitting here, I was like, that's what that means? Like it has made no sense. Made no sense. I don't understand it. I'm sure that our slang didn't make any sense either. But to be fair, I don't think that I used half of it. So I'm clear. I'm clean. So
I
I
mean,
said
okay.
fire one time and I caught myself and was like, what did you just say? Shut up and go wash your mouth out. I was ashamed of myself. Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyways, uh Ahsoka and Anakin have a duel.
Yeah. Which again, you mentioned this at the beginning of the episode, but
Vader's done on the farm and he's down on the planet and he's gonna fight instead of farming.
anyway, you mentioned it before, but during the course of Ahsoka and Vader's duel, which I mean, okay, it's from what we see, it's all right. It's not like a super amazing duel or anything. It's all right,
Yeah,
but
the
again, you mentioned
significance.
they do the thing where Vader's mask gets slashed, and you actually
Hmm.
see half of Anakin's face. And then you also and then they do the thing meshing Vader's voice with Matt Lanter, Matt Lanter's Anakin voice. Um, which again they did the same thing in Kenobi. Rebels did it first,
Yeah,
but they did do the same thing in Kenobi.
yeah. I think it might have been a
But
little bit better done in Kenobi, but Kenobi honestly also um had Hayden Christensen and
mm,
uh I think it meant more
mm,
in that.
yeah, but
Now,
the go ahead.
I was gonna move on to a separate part, so go ahead and finish what your thought.
I was about to say so. Now at the during the course of this duel, we actually don't really see the ending of it, but Vader's the one that walks out of it alive. Ahsoka's done.
Well, they show her walking off too, which I don't remember. I didn't remember that until they showed it. They do show a scene at the end of her walking off into some hallway or whatever.
I thought that
Um,
was just the owl.
so basically, they show the owl, but they also I remember seeing a scene that they show of her,
Okay.
which didn't really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you know that was there. I've only seen this a couple times. Now, what I do want to comment on before we get too far into that, um, is that this is interesting because Anakin was there for this. But she says, "I will avenge him," and Vader says, "Revenge is not the Jedi way." And she goes, "I'm no Jedi." Very, very. Uh, it's all within the character. It's all more significant. The thoughts and everything behind what's going on is more important than what you're actually seeing.
Hmm.
Um, but it is interesting because Anakin should know that she's not a Jedi, technically. Now he might be like, well, she still might follow the code and this, and this, but she doesn't. She's not actually a Jedi, and you know, she sees no issue taking revenge on Anakin. Um, yeah, let's see. Now you mentioned the Morai bird. Now that is an interesting thing to mention because it showed up multiple times in this season. All right, so right here, after the Morai bird flies away, you see her walking off.
Yeah, I just pulled that up on my phone. I saw it.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that means she's supposed to, the way that they're showing this, supposed to be alive. They both limp away as if the fight still didn't go great. You know. Now, I am not saying that Ahsoka can go toe to toe with Vader because she can't. Vader's more powerful. Ahsoka's good. Ahsoka can take on a lot, but Vader is still more powerful. Um, but she survives somehow. We'll find out later.
I feel
The
like they
Morai
kind of
bird.
retcon that, but later on, but still.
Yeah. The bird keeps showing up multiple times. Now, David, I want you to explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader or 5-year-old, because next year I'll be 6. I'm making an office reference.
I know.
Yeah. Well, anyways, explain. Explain the bird to me like I'm a 5-year-old, and I don't understand what's it supposed to be.
It has to do with the daughter
Anyways,
and
yes.
the whole Mortis arc because
Mm-hmm.
Ahsoka, basically absorbed the essence of the daughter when she got like during the whole uh Mortis arc and
Mm-hmm.
the what's it called, the Mirai bird
Yeah. Something like that.
basically represents the daughter.
Yeah. But the daughter died, and while it's not necessarily sad, Soka kind of is followed around by the bird.
The bird kind is implied, maybe maybe not necessarily, maybe implied to be the uh basically the embodiment of the light side.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the light side. The brother was the son was the dark side, and then the father was the balance. Now, the way that it looks like it could be done in Ahsoka, I'm not sure who they're gonna get to be the son, and be the dark side, but Anakin is supposed to be the father in the way that they're kind of doing things, revitalizing it in Ahsoka. Uh, Anakin is the father. Ahsoka would be the daughter because of the essence that I think she absorbed because the daughter somewhat sacrificed her life so Ahsoka could live. And then someone would be the son. There's a lot to this that we probably should break down in an actual episode by itself. And maybe we will, maybe we won't. Who knows? It might be more important come Ahsoka season 2. So, but there's a lot to it. This is definitely Dave Filoni's pet project. Like he started this in Clone Wars, and he's continued it in Rebels. He's continued it even farther in Ahsoka, and will continue to continue it in Ahsoka season 2 because that's kind of where things are kind of heading. You got the Thrawn stuff going on, but you also have stuff going on with the Mortis arc playing a bigger role, and Anakin, the War Between Worlds, and all those things.
Hmm. I don't know if Ahsoka season 2 will continue to set up uh all the heir to the Empire stuff because they
Yeah,
kind of separated out, Ahsoka and Sabine are in this whole other galaxy.
yeah.
So they kind of separate all that out. So I don't know if they'll I don't know if it'll just mainly focus on them or if it'll still jump back and forth between them and the Ghost crew back in the main galaxy.
Yeah, not sure. It is interesting, touching on an episode back in the season that we didn't really speak much on. Um, when Zeb finds out that he's not the last of the Lasats, they go to a world that is uncharted, is in uncharted space, and they do a similar thing to what happens in Survivor, where they kind of go through a bunch of black hole-esque type things or whatever, something blocking the way essentially, and you have to have a specific chart map to go,
Mm-hmm.
a route to go, and I found that interesting as a parallel that they did that. But that's also something that kind of comes up in Ahsoka, where it's you have to have a specific map, specific coordinates to get to this other galaxy, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because otherwise you're gonna be very far off. Um, but anyways, I think we're winding down on what we were talking about, unless you have much more to say.
No,
This season wouldn't say it was the greatest season. It had a good ending. These last two episodes, Twilight of the Apprentice, Part One and Part Two, were very good. Um, but all in all, like the rest of the season was maybe a little lackluster. Uh, all in all, I would say it's not tremendously important to the rest of the series or to Ahsoka. These episodes may be something to come back and look at. Um, Not these, but these episodes that we're doing might be something to come back on once we get into Ahsoka season 2 and that comes out. But right now, and even for that, this season, besides a couple episodes, aren't that important. Um,
mm,
so kind of maybe a filler season of sorts. Like I said, I was saying it kind of jokingly, but it's not really. The main point of this season was they were trying to find a base.
yeah.
So, the next season they go back to Lothal, somewhere in here, and actually start dealing with Thrawn. They may not start dealing with him till closer to the end, but it is more important to the
Now,
overarching
speaking of Thrawn,
seasons.
kind of an overview for next time. So in 2 weeks, I was the next week, but in 2 weeks, next episode, we were talking about the first book in the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy.
That's the canon Thrawn trilogy, right?
One of them. This is the like during the Clone Wars. It's separated from a lot of the
Okay.
events of the Clone Wars, but it's set during the same time as the Clone Wars.
Okay.
Chaos Rising is the name of the book, first one. So if you're interested in that, tune in next time. And Wesley, I don't know if you have anything else to say. If you do, go ahead and say it. If you don't, go ahead and take us on out to an outro.
All right, well, nothing else to say. So, with that, thank you for sticking all the way down to the end of this episode. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you got something out of this from Star Wars Rebels Season 2. If you liked it, leave a comment down below telling us that you did and what your favorite color is. Sure, there you go. What's your favorite color? And also leave a like on the video, thumbs up, whatever the way is. 5-star review. I don't know, whatever you're listening on, leave a good whatever on there. And consider subscribing because, you know, how else are you going to find this? You have to like search it or something. You're not going to know when we come out with new videos. So, anyways, with all that, be sure to join us next time on X Wing Radio because we will have some more important things to talk about.
Now this is podcasting.
It's our thing now. I hate it, but it's our thing.